Gruesome Magazine.
Hello, once again, I'm your host, Doc Rotten, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in streaming and video on-demand horror movies. Each week, my co-hosts Jeff Mohr, Crystal Cleveland, Dave Dreher, Christopher G. Mohr, and myself will take a look at various spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings, or at least 3 out of 5 of us. Tonight, we are reviewing All the Moons, streaming on Shudder beginning February 10th, 2022. Let me introduce the crew, starting off with Crystal Cleveland, the Living Dead Girl. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm like really tired. I guess I'm ready to take my eternal slumber. No, I'm just kidding.
Nah, that's nice.
Yeah. Okay. I deserve that.
All right, she'll be here all week. Make sure you
Try the
all right, try to veal. All right, let's also welcome award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Mohr. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. A little bit disappointed. I thought this was all the moon pies.
All the moon pies.
There was no moon pies in this.
All the moon pies.
And I'm very hungry.
Awesome.
And I'm very upset. But other than that, I'm doing good.
I like the banana moon pies. Those are really good.
All the
banana moon
marshmallows
pies.
and the chocolates. All right, what we're going to do tonight is we're going to review the film All the Moons, No Moon Pies. Of course, we're going to start off giving our first impression. That will be spoiler free, and then we'll dive into discussion. We will get into a few spoilers. It's kind of hard not to. And then we'll dive in. Well, we did that. So then we'll wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. And of course, we hope you enjoy not only this review, but many other language, Earth. What am I saying? I don't know, but many others that we have on the site. Help me. Help me. If you want to help me, it's easy and free to do. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share with a friend, and we'll generate some money so I can get the the medical assistance.
Oh gosh!
All right, please comment down below. Let's look at the card. All the Moons, available streaming on Shudder beginning February 10th, 2022. Written and directed by Igor Legarreta. That's close. And then also written by John Sagalá. I don't know how you do the extra A at the end. The cast includes a bunch of names. The synopsis is: in late 19th century, a little girl hurt by a bomb at the end of the Third Carlist War is saved by a woman who brings her to the eternal life. Tagline: not all fairy tales are for children, which is fairly accurate for this.
Wah, wah.
So let's dive into this. Christopher, you're up first. What was your first impression of All the Moons?
It was an interesting movie that sort of from the point of view of the little girl, and I mean it's well, can I say what it's a take on, the type of horror genre, or is that too spoilerish?
No, absolutely, do it.
Okay, it's a take on the vampire stories, and it brings to life certain element. Pardon the pun. It brings to life certain elements that you think about that, because when you watch things like Interview the Vampire and stuff, when some like a little girl gets turned, you think about all the different issues that go along with that. And there's one moment it's like you kind of realize that if you're a little girl but you have the mindset of somebody 10 years older, how you would act or whatever. So I don't know. It's an interesting film, but I'll say a good bit of it was boring to me. It was kind of drawn out. I mean, there's literally 20 minutes of the film where it's just her going around screaming and peeling her skin off for like 20 minutes. That's like 20 minutes of the film. But it's an interesting story. But it's a slow burn, like the whole movie. It's not. I mean,
like the whole movie is literally
a whole movie is literally a slow burn.
Yeah,
and you have to. I think it's a movie you have to be patient with. But there was long moments that take place that it's like, okay, get to it, And I think it's pretty. But when you think about it, it's very simplistic.
Mm-hmm.
In everything, and it does a lot of things we see in these type of films, like dealing with religion and living and how people are selfish and all this kind of stuff. It deals with all those type of things, and it also has like a historical aspect because also it goes forward in time a couple of times out of the blue. But yeah, I think there's some really beautiful scenes. I mean, especially towards the end, there's some really beautiful. I don't know where they shot it, but there's beautiful scenery that they shot these scenes at that framed are very epic. You make a painting out of it. But for the most part, it was just I felt as old as the vampires in the film by the end of it because I feel like I don't know. I felt like it was too stretched out too much, you know. And then there's even a time jump that happens. It kind of like okay, you know. So I don't know. It's got some good moments in it, but overall, I was kind of bored by it.
Kind of bored. All right, Crystal. What about you? What was your first impression of All the Moons?
Okay, so this is really a character study film, and it's a film about growing up, and I think it's also about sacrifice and the choices we make. You know, I mean, Christopher's absolutely right, though. Like, literally, the whole movie is a slow burn. The end is a slow burn. Okay, there's no like slow burn to a payoff. But it's not. It doesn't not pay off in a way as well, though. It's just kind of it's a very sad story at its core, and I think that I love the take on the vampires, though. I love the take that they don't really well, I don't want to give anything away yet, but I do like their passiveness is what I'll say. And I like that they kept some of the older vampire lore, some of my favorite little bits. And the girl was amazing, and she was such a pretty girl, such a beautiful girl. I liked that even though she was a child, like there was something about her when it went forward in time. I think she did a really good job of like almost looking older,
Aging behind the eyes.
yeah. And so I was really kind of impressed with her and her performance, and I loved the end. I loved the story progression in the end, but Christopher's not wrong. It is a little boring. I mean, I was like, okay. I kind of liked where we got, and I liked that the points that it addressed, and I liked the costuming as well. Like some of the costuming was really cool. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it overall. I thought it was interesting, and I think that it was a good watch for me.
Good watch.
Yeah.
All right. I like that. I'm kind of in between you guys. I liked it well enough. It reminded me of Let the Right One In.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, although that has a lot more action in it. And it, you know, if you know that film, there's not a lot, but this has less. But at the same time, saying that it's a fairy tale is very much what this film is. It is presented with that fairy tale quality to it. But there's long scenes where you're just watching stuff and you're not really sure what you're watching. But at the same time, this actress that plays the young girl is she holds it all together, and so does her. Later in the film, she gets adopted by a father, and he's pretty interesting too.
He's wonderful.
So there's this theme about bonds and things like that, and this realization about being eternal life, and whether it's a blessing or a curse. And usually goes along with vampire, if it's not straight up horror and fantasy, it goes into that kind of introspect, and it does a good job of it. But don't watch it late at night. You're gonna fall asleep because it will test your endurance. That is for sure. So let's get into some of the more intimate parts. Crystal, you were wanting to talk about some of the vampire lore. I think you want to expand.
Oh, is that what? Okay, yeah, I love the whole. Oh well, God, this is a big spoiler though.
We're in spoilers.
Okay, well, like I love that it's if you kill the vampire that created you, you become mortal again. I love that concept.
That's always been sort of a concept of
It's not always, though. In some vampire lore, they don't. I mean, there's been plenty of movies where they haven't.
Well,
you know.
but I mean, that's why I saw that coming a mile away.
Oh no, I did. I'm saying I
and,
like that they kept that lore.
Well,
Well,
the interesting spin on it is that she kind of pushes the boundaries of her own existence by just perseverance. You know, being able to
being able to.
get out into the light.
Well, I kind of feel like the sun is almost like an allergic reaction, and so it's like you can get over your allergies if you expose yourself to it, to like whatever it is enough.
Well, I think those type of things were more interesting to me because we've seen. I mean, I've seen that stuff before. I mean, that's just Lost Boys is the same way. If you kill the head vampire, you become mortal again. So, but I think when they played around with certain things, like you can be able to walk in the sun if you just keep burning. You let yourself sunburn basically.
It didn't work out as well for others though.
well, but they have to.
You have to do it over time.
They didn't do it over 10 years. Like she did. But those things like that. And then like, cause then it's like other elements I think the filmmakers maybe played with their expectations on what happens with vampires. Cause like when she goes into church, you're like, oh, you get kind of nervous for it. It's like, is she going to catch on fire?
And the garlic soup.
Well, yeah, that was one thing when he's like, here, have some garlic soup. And I was like, ooh, what's going to happen when she eats it? But then she pushes away. She doesn't even try it. So then you kind of wondering if she would be affected by that, and then it's just more eating regular food just makes her sick instead of blood. And so if she doesn't eat the wafer from the church, it's just going to make, if she tries to eat it, it's going to make her sick. So and then people would automatically, oh, well, it's the devil. The devil's making her this happen. So, but yeah, I kind of like those elements that made it kind of interesting when it came to that. And I think the one moment that, it was kind of awkward to watch, but there's one moment where she was almost like, she almost tried to kiss the guy when she first met him.
See, I didn't think that that's what she was doing. I thought she wanted to eat him.
I thought she was going to eat him too. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't feel like it was I thought she was like, she hadn't had blood in so long. She was having a hard time controlling herself.
I don't know. I kind of the way I was thinking it, she's like 10 years older. So that make her probably in her 20s. Mm-hmm. And she hadn't been near anybody. And I think for some reason I saw that as being more of a
I could see puberty. What would
but
make you think that.
Yeah, but also I was thinking the same tune too. Maybe she was, but then I don't know, or maybe it was just his reaction to it. He thought it was that.
I think that's what he thought.
But for
sure.
me, I was like, oh God. But at the same time, it made me also realize like it'd be kind of weird stuck in like a little girl's body, and you have like the sexuality or the like you have this adult inside of that body. That'd be a very awkward situation, which let the right one in, and the films sort of get into. But
Interview with a Vampire, yeah.
Oh, we interviewed a vampire too with Kirsten Dunst's character.
The part of what makes me think that she was just gonna try to eat him is because when she does actually get a kiss, she's much more submissive, and then it's very innocent too. So she was a lot more. I think even though, yes, in her mind, she's like 10 years old, she hasn't been around people. So I think she might still have the mentality of being attracted to someone that's still on her same level.
Well, which they explore.
Level.
Yeah, which they explore. So.
So.
Although I will say the old age makeup later in the film I did not like.
I agree. It wasn't the best.
It was like midnight mass all over again.
Well, I do like that they explored that the people that ran into her were trying to figure out if she was an angel or a demon, and vampires never came up, right? So they were more thinking she was, possessed or a demon when the time came. And I like the symbolism of that too.
Yeah.
Like when the way the town reacted when she had that episode in the church. So that aspect of it, especially when it was with the boy, right? Because the boy was like, which one are you? And, he definitely saw her as an angel. And then she saw herself more as a devil or a demon and went to the church, which was interesting. There was a lot of stuff in here that I, like you said, character studies. So there's a lot of mental look at how this is affecting her.
Yeah, and I mean, the priest was like the normal sort of creepy priest.
Yeah,
I mean, because there's that part where he
creepy.
comes
There's
in
a
there's
little-
like,
Yeah, that
we
was
could-
weird to me.
I was like, ooh, looking at her. I mean, I don't know. It just felt very,
Yeah.
well, even he was saying like, well, we could turn her into a servant.
It reminded me. Okay, honestly, it reminded me of. Oh, God, and I hate. It reminded me of Roots. Remember when they were looking at the. Oh, this makes me really sad. When they were looking at the boys, and like judging them based on, and I was like, God, that's really gross. But yeah, he was basic. Oh, a servant. Oh, sure, a servant.
Yep.
Do you mean yeah?
Yeah.
Ugh.
People suck. People suck. They always have. They always will.
Yeah, that part actually really did jack me up.
But
totally
I mean,
agree.
but also there's an interesting thing at the very beginning where it's like these group of vampires. They're like basically, raiding camps.
They're scavengers.
Scavengers,
Well,
like
they're
the war and
I
stuff.
love it. Yeah, I think it's really brilliant. And see, I love that they're so passive. They're like, well, all these people are dying anyway, so we can go and we'll follow the food. I think it's clever. I like it, and I like that she survived on animals, and she seemed to be okay on that. I don't understand why her mother decided to stay in that cave forever, or whatever. That I was confused.
Yeah,
by
that was a little odd because she was there for
Yeah, that was weird.
long time.
Yeah.
However long she was out and about. So
Like, wouldn't you at some point try to get out in the real world?
Well, and I think that's where that little girl seems to have a stronger spirit than she did, and then that makes you realize she just wants somebody to be with her because she's too afraid or scared to leave her comfort zone. So she wants a servant of her own, or pet
Maybe.
of her own.
Yeah.
yeah, this movie's fairly complex in that way.
Yeah.
Just not
It
necessarily
is.
in the pacing.
I mean, it's very simplistic in the elements, and it is a more, like you said, a more character study. But at the same time, there's just long moments, drawn out moments, and longer the camera just sits there, and it's like, oh,
They did.
okay, we get it.
They did some interesting stuff too. There are a lot of close-ups at points. Like literally, it's all close-ups. Jumping, like when the first time I think that she feeds, it was like, oh wow, they're so close and so close and so close and so close. I mean, there's a lot of diversity within the shots, but at some points it was just like so close, and I just thought it was kind of interesting. It worked. I didn't have an issue with it. I just noticed it.
Yeah, it's just a very patient, plotting film. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Let's give our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. Christopher G. Mohr, you're up first.
I wouldn't call it patient. I became impatient by the end of it. I don't know. I think we definitely need more interesting vampire type stories that aren't just like the same thing over and over. And I think this definitely tells it in a different part of the world. It tells it does its own sort of variation on things to where it's almost like the mythology around it was expanded, elsewhere based on these concepts and stuff. So I think it brings up some really interesting things. Especially I do love, even though it's a 20-minute segment. I do like the element of like they can learn to walk in the sun if they're patient. I'm not sure I'm patient to see that happen.
Yeah.
But I think some of the time jumps kind of suck the energy out of it at times, and especially the last like fourth, the old age makeup is bad. But there's some beautiful scenery. There's some beautiful cinematography in parts. And it is a very slow prodding character study. that you have to be patient with it.
Yeah, that's right.
And it may not be for everyone. So it's this is not Lost Boys. This is not Near Dark. This is this is a slow burn in the same way that
I mean, even the burn is slow burn.
Vampire,
Right?
yeah, the way the vampire is slow burn. This is not like turn into like ashes all of a sudden. This isn't like if there's a vampire that goes up, it's like, oh God, that's horrific.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a very slow movie, and I kept looking at my watch.
Oh God.
I was like, let's get these vampires out of
how
the misery.
long was it? Was it like it was an hour and 40, I think, or something. It wasn't like but it was a
was a
little.
long
It could have
hour
been
and 40,
shortened.
Yeah, I felt like I lost a couple of years off my life. But it was still visually interesting, and it had some interesting character type stuff. But I think that the pacing of it was just too like precious for the subject matter. So as for rating, I'll give it a 3.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah.
I'll be nice and give it a 3. I mean, don't let me knock it down lower, Crystal. No, I mean, I think some of the visuals of it, sell it more for me. I mean, there's shots at the very end that are just gorgeous to look at, like painting gorgeous. As for favorite scene, I will say the
Will you now?
I mean, I'll say the part. I mean, hopefully I'm not selling anybody's, but I'll say the part when she gets her mom to come out of the cave.
Oh yeah, no.
And it's framed
that's a good one.
with this huge canyon and the lake beneath, and it's just I mean, I almost made me wonder, did they do a matte painting? This felt like old school like matte painting because it's so beautiful. I'm not sure how you can get that shot with having some kind of CGI or special effect, and just the what happens to her mom and stuff is just like, wow, it's not like, because it's so slow, you can sort of understand, oh, that has got to be the most painful thing in the world, because you can see her eyes slowly burn up in her face and stuff. So I'll say that specific scene is probably the scene that stood out the most for me.
Very much so, yes. All right, Crystal, your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene?
So this wasn't nearly as painful for me, apparently, as it was for Christopher. But, okay, so I'm going to give it a 3.5. I think Christopher giving it a 3. That was really good. Like, that's not bad. I agree with him, though. It's not going to be for everyone. I mean, if you're looking for an action horror vampire, this is definitely not that. This is like,
we've had those. This
it's an interesting one, because I did really love the character, and I loved to see her, see how she grew and see how she understood things. And this is actually going to relate to my favorite scene. One of the things that I really enjoyed about her is that she kind of became feral, living on her own out in the woods, I guess, really. And yet when she's found and taken back into society, you can see her being really wary at first, and then her start to understand that she needs to try to pretend to be normal, much like, reminds me of myself, for my whole life. Like, she's like, it's important to try to pretend to be normal and to fit in and
adapt.
Yeah. And so one of my favorite scenes was the milk in the shoes. I just thought it was really cute, because she knew that, fighting him on eating was not going to work. And I was like, well, what did she do? And then it's like gone like that fast. And then I'm like, what did she do? It's in her shoes. It's so stupid, but it's cute. I just think it was sweet. I don't know. I don't know. I think it was just kind of a sweet little movie. It's sad and sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, because even the graphic violence is held to a minimum. I mean, there is some, but it's very minimum. Yeah, I enjoyed this, but it wouldn't. I don't think this would be one I would actually sit down and watch if it weren't for this show. But having sat down and watched it, I did enjoy it, and I did enjoy the character. I did enjoy the story, but it took effort to watch it. It wasn't sit back and relax. It was sit up and pay attention and contemplate what it's giving you, because it's slowly feeding you this information, telling this really long story of this this character's life and how she grows and adapts, like you were saying, and it's very interesting. And the actress is very good, so that helps. And then the cinematography I thought was beautiful. I mean, there are landscapes in here that are just wonderful, and when it does need to be close up, it also has you feel that you're back in that time. I never questioned that I was back in that time. And even though it's what we're talking, I don't even know how long ago we're talking about.
The late 1800s, I guess is when it started. And then obviously it went into like whatever the 19...
Yeah.
So those planes, like 19...
Yeah. So 150 to 100 years ago, right? Somewhere in that range. So, but anyways, so my score is going to be 3 1/4. I'll just split it right down the middle between you guys. It was leaning more toward a 3, but I'm going to go ahead and shake things up. Yeah, right. So my favorite scene. So the cinematography, we talked about that being really wonderful, and my favorite scene is what is the actual ending, because it's really fascinating what they did. But if I can't choose that, it's one of the 2 water scenes, either one. The underwater photography in here was beautiful. I mean, the waterfall was a little clearer and was a little bit more magical, if you will. It had this quality to it that was really special. But the last part of it was different and a little bit more transformative. Of course, it led to the ending, and her standing on the edge of the lake is a really great shot. So I love the water scenes. I liked how they played with that.
Yeah, that very last scene is very Shape of Water, when she's like floating, because the way the light shafts come down into the water. Yeah. I mean, there's scenes like that. I mean, there's even like if I didn't pick that one scene, another scene I like is the bee scene, when the boy falls out of the tree, and he's like laying there, and all these bees are going around, and there's even a wider shot of her walking. I mean, it's some really beautiful stuff that incorporates, even I'm sure those are CGI bees, but I mean, the way they incorporate it looks very realistic, and it's the locations they found are just very amazing, like that lake and stuff, where she's standing in front of that lake at the very end. That looks like a shot out of a sci-fi movie. It's it's just so gorgeous and beautiful. Yeah,
and it looks so untouched, right?
Well, that's what you get when you go out of the United States.
All right. Well, there you go. That's our review of All the Moons. It's streaming on Shudder. Check it out. Let us know what you think. If you want a different take on vampires, if you, especially if you like Let the Right One In, I think you'll be into it. If you like what Jeff Mohr picks, you will like this film, because I think this is a Jeff Mohr film.
Which could be a good thing or a bad thing for some people.
All right. Well, with that, Christopher, thank you for joining me. It was a lot
Thanks
of fun.
for having us.
No problem.
Let's say good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Gruesome Magazine.